नमस्कार। डॉक्टर नितिन सारस्वत जी के साथ में मैं जब आपके सम्मुख प्रकट हुआ हूं तो प्रकृति के प्रति जो प्रेम है उसकी चर्चा हम विशेष रूप से करने वाले हैं। एंड Nitin ji, as you and most of our viewers are aware that today is a very special day that is dedicated to Mother Earth. In a way, this year, United Nations has taken up the theme as Ecosystem Restoration World Environment Day. So while we are marking World Environment Day and we are keeping aside some of the political hot button issues because this is very important, it somewhere relates to not just our lifestyle but actual life in its totality. And I'm happy, Nitinji, that the theme this year is ecosystem restoration. Let's begin first of all by requesting you to share what do you understand by ecosystem.
It's about the totality, actually. Namaskar, and thank you for having me on the show. It's about totality. So, what I like the most about the word system is that I was just reading a book other day, and it quoted a very beautiful statement that you can never imagine how a monkey can make a tree disappear from an island. Just because you made a monkey instinct, one types of tree from an island disappeared. And just because one type of tree disappeared from an island, the whole ecosystem of that island got disturbed. And that is how we never realize the importance of very small things in our life, in our surroundings, just like butterflies. So if you ask anyone that, do you do anything for the butterflies, or do you do anything about the insects that a normal household may feel they are a big nuisance to you? But do you realize, or do we realize, that these so-called nuisance, the reptiles, they are a very, very important part of our existence. So this is whole ecosystem.
So I'm happy the way you explained it, and also I'm reminded that we hear from Indian sages repeatedly to sustain balance among all the five elements. So, be it water, fire, air, uh, sky, or space, and all these, and there is a need of harmony between us and nature that surrounds us. When we say nature, we also include insects because the fertility of a particular land would depend on having certain type of insects. So the way the nature has given us this wonderful world universe to live in, uh, again, we also are aware of how Earth is rotating and how sun and all these relationships. But we come back to Earth mainly, and referring to ecosystem, Nitinji, we have special relationship with nature. That's why we say be natural. Many times when you are not natural, then you are artificial, and artificial lifestyle somehow erodes our ability to be happy. Now, why we should be paying so much attention to environment and using this as an excuse to reorient our relationship with nature. You will help us understand how it is related to different set of qualities that we manifest. Let me jump and go to, you see, there is lot of aggression. And if I may think loudly with you, there were days when we used to live in jungle as humans. Then we created houses, and I remember as a child when somebody was mentioning that they used to live in on without any formal roof on top, and we take pride that we have created so much facilities. But then there is something that we missed on our path of so-called growth. So, so much from my side. Let me hear about human nature and relationship with nature from you.
So, what I want everyone to connect to is the ecosystem in which your growth can never exist without your mental growth. And your mental growth can never exist without your mental peace. And your mental peace can never exist without the growth and the stability of nature. As we are going away from nature, we do not realize what kind of impact it's having on our mindsets. And we are actually calling upon a catastrophic situation, because when you are in concrete jungle, surrounded by concrete, shut in small rooms, and when you go out, all you see is just skyscrapers crying for space. You never realize it actually makes you think small. It makes you aggressive. It disconnects you from your inner peace. And that is, if you ask someone, like ask someone living in New York, though I know water bodies are very much near New York. But ask someone who is living in New York, what was the last time he could spend an hour near a water body? When
Hmm.
was the last time somebody among us had 15 minutes to feel water or feel sun? And we will be shocked how far away we are going from nature.
Yeah,
And that
and,
is why,
yeah, sorry. In this context, I'm also tempted to add that you see a lot of trees behind me in this picture. Very few of us, even if we are in a park or something, will get engrossed in our smartphone, and we are kind of missing out on being one with nature, even appreciating trees.
absolutely. So that is why we are getting disconnected with our own nature. We are not being in sync with our own emotions. Because if you see, emotions have their own ecosystem. I call them a bucket of emotions. If you see one particular situation, and you will feel many emotions at the same microsecond. And because we are not connected with the nature, we are not connected with our own nature, we are unable to have a connect with our emotions also.
Yeah. So,
If you
sorry, please continue.
if you remember, in India, we have a festival in which the ladies especially, they worship trees, and they touch trees. They touch and worship trees. They take rounds around trees, parikrama around trees. And if you see, if you feel it, they actually feel the tree, they feel one with the tree. In a sense, when you are touching anything that is nature, soil is one of the best stress busters. It is really very good for your digestive system. It is something which makes you grounded,
Yeah.
and we
So,
are so
yeah.
disconnected with soil.
Absolutely. I'm kind of thinking loudly with you, Nitinji. As I was growing up, we used to look at these traditions where they are worshipping trees, etc., as if these are related to people who are illiterate. I mean, that is how we grew up. But those Indian traditions were making us so much a part of the ecosystem. We were respecting them, and gradually, in the name of having more comforts and the new set of priorities, which became an integral part of our way of having certain self-esteem and self-confidence or self-assurance, was to look down upon some of these traditions which were bringing culture to our life on day-to-day and regular basis. But there is no point in cribbing about what has happened. The thing is what we can do now. And I'll use our theme on, of course, on the ecosystem restoration world environment day, and we are talking about mind and nature. So let us talk a little bit about how we are minding nature is guided by the system that we have inherited. And when I say system, that also includes the political system, the need to have AC, refrigerator, the need to have certain type of cars, the need to have certain type of buildings, etc., etc., etc. um, I'll just come to you with two aspects to this. So you feel helpless on one side. You say, okay, they are talking about environment, but what can I do? I mean, as an individual, even if I'm conscientious, what I do is not going to make any difference. So then let's just flow with everyone and chab chalta hai. That's another. So these are two sides. One is kind of in the on the table of policymakers, world leaders, financially strong corporates, etc. Another is on the individual. Let us talk about both. So briefly, politicians, entrepreneurs, etc. And then we should not feel helpless. I mean, we can do even a tiny little bit, but we should have the conviction that what I'm doing is making a difference. Your take.
It never matters what you do make a difference or not. What matters is whether you do something or not, because that's how nature is so beautifully balanced. Even an iota of transformation that you're trying to make, it is making a difference without a doubt. That is why I gave you the example that an insect, if you make an insect disappear from the earth, the whole balance gets disturbed. So if an insect can make a difference, of course everyone among us can make a difference.
Wow,
And now
beautiful.
see how beautifully it was. Till 1970s in India, every water body used to be worshipped. People never used to go with slippers, shoes near a water body. The sanctity of a water body was religious sanctity. Every tree was being worshipped. When most of the trees are worshipped in Rajasthan, where we come from, there's a community which can, even give their lives for a tree called khejuri. Now it's not about one tree or two trees. If you are developing some kind of love for anything that is nature, slowly and gradually you will start falling in love with everything. And if you are saving one tree, again, you are saving not only just one tree, you are saving a lot more than that. Same way, the day, unfortunately we are so short sighted that we cannot see how, like I remember an ad that was a beautifully conceived ad, the the connection between a tomato and a tiger, how disappearing a tiger can disappear a tomato
Mhm.
from your plate. Same way, the day we start recognizing that disappearing a tree from your neighborhood is bound to create anger issues in your house. The day we realize disappearing a water body nearby you is bound to take a toll on your stress level. The day we realize disappearing an open park from your area will make sure that your ability to think big is going to get impacted, we will never ever play with the ecosystem of nature.
Talking about ecosystem, and you mentioned about water bodies, and here is statistics. More than 400 million tons of plastic is produced every year worldwide, half of which is designed to be used only once. Of that, less than 10% is recycled. So the estimate is 19 to 23 million tons is going to lakes, rivers, and seas annually. Now, that doesn't speak good about us as human race. So, what example? tells us is this is approximately the weight of 2,200 Eiffel Towers altogether. So we are actually, in the name of living, we are creating uh, environment which is destructive and not good for us also, as well as for the future generations. um, Use of plastic should be restricted. We have heard many times, many times. How do you see the significance of this particular aspect? Because this is very close to where we can feel we can do something.
I again, my theme will be, see, all these pieces of information everybody has got now. What we can do only with nature. The problem is our we are very myopic. Our short-sightedness is the problem. It's like everybody knows we can, to save environment we should save electricity, we should save water, we should not use plastic, we can simply take care of trees, we can plant more trees, we can start having greenery in the houses, etc., etc. Well, how I want it to be connected is how I want everybody to see plastic. I want everybody to see water body as the a curer of your stress. I want everyone to see a tree as an something that makes you feel okay, I have something to hold on to, someone to hug, as an emotional support. Same way, see plastic as a lot of emotional garbage that you create.
Wow.
When you are creating a lot of waste, you are actually, the waste is getting created first inside. Only then the nature is your, our whole nature is becoming of bigger, better, more. So we are trapped with a mindset of bigger, better, more. It's inside also. I want more for myself. That is why I'm creating a lot of emotional garbage here. My ego is bigger. So I'm creating a lot of conflict in my life. So whatever I'm doing to the nature, actually I'm doing it to myself first. And the reflection of it I can see in the nature. I do not believe in coexistence. So when I do not believe in coexistence, what is happening? The nature around me, in my family, in my locality, in my society, everything is getting disturbed. So there's a lot of plastic in our lives, and there's a lot of plastic on our earth.
So pollution to solution, and this year with ecosystem restoration being the theme, United Nations have also shared this small video where they're talking, or rather encouraging us to beat the plastic. So let's. So please
Beautiful.
don't trouble my world is the phrase with which this concluded. Now we are troubling our own own world is what you are indirectly hinting at. Talk to me, as you have interacted with people from different countries, helping them in finding the right balance in their lives as a mental well-being coach. How violence is somewhere related to your being away from nature.
Absolutely. Uh, you can never find a person, exceptions may prove the rule, but 90% you will never find a person who is very well connected with the nature, spending a lot of time with the nature, relishing nature, and being violent. It's very rare to be found. Most of the people you will find having a violent streak are the people who are far away from nature. And not only nature, you will find people, when they are violent, actually they are not connected to themselves either. So when you are connected with yourself, you are connected with everything that gives you peace of mind.
So let me just think loudly with you. We probably have in some schools, but it should become a mandatory in almost all schools that every child will get an opportunity to experience planting of a tree. And if she is there for few years, then they should be taken back to that same space to see how the the plant that they are instrumental in bringing, how it is growing. I think that would also be an education of environment as well as for inner peace. What do you say?
Absolutely, absolutely. What I want everyone to experience, I would request every all our viewers to just dedicate one Sunday every week, just a Sunday morning. Go in a park, be barefoot, and try to be in the soil. Walk in the soil. Don't worry about your feet getting dirty. It's not dirty, believe me. It's the most beautiful thing your feet can ever experience. If you can walk in the mud, if you can walk on the grass, if you can touch the mud, soil, be there for some time, and you can get your blood pressures tested, your pulse tested. You will find a serene calmness within yourself. Try this out sometimes. If you're stressed, just go and hug a tree. Smell few leaves and you will find a lot of solace. Try it sometimes. You're not finding solution to a problem. Go to a water body. Sit there. Do not talk. Just sit there. Look at the water. Observe the sound of water, the music it creates, and you will find all of a sudden a lot of your problems are getting solved. And that day, we will actually celebrate the World Environment Day, because that day you will see everything in environment as your possession, something which is very much needed for your own existence.
Wow, very beautifully put, Nitinji. And I'm also reminded of how cutting trees is related to use of paper.
Yeah.
And do you see it as a positive sign that we are moving towards digitization, and many people are actually now reading stuff on using digital technology, but then there is nostalgia. And so, what is your take on? Are we having the kind of transition from paper to digital technology, which will have some positive impact on the ecosystem, or there are other enemies coming to our doorsteps through digitization?
See, it is one of the great welcome steps of digitization that we can go paperless. But the point is, it's not just the paper which is making the trees cut. Actually, it is the greed. It is the mindless, wrongly defined development. And the same greed and same mindless, wrongly defined development is bringing our inner nature to a catastrophic situation too. So, until we find a solution, we will put one demon behind us and we will create 10 new demons to fight with. Because if trees are being cut for making paper, that's only one thing. Trees are being cut for making factories, trees are being cut for making cities. And we unfortunately, we are not at all waking up that we are using, we are making cities at the places where we should be growing food. So we will find ways to sabotage until we find a solution to the inner demon that we have, that is greed. So we have to find a solution to that.
Yeah. So before we conclude, I also want to, since we are focusing on ecosystem, the way we relate to other species, whether they are insects, whether they are our pets. Uh, Being sensitive to ecosystem involves having respectful relationship with all other species. So, some of us are fond of pets, and I know you have your favorite. What is the name of your dog?
Joe.
Joe, yes. So, how that helps as far as mental peace is concerned having a pet or having giving respectful space to other species.
See, it is the coexistence is when you do not feel yourself. Coexistence can only happen when you do not feel yourself inferior or superior to someone. Coexistence means I you may be better than me, bigger than me, but hold my space, and you allow me to exist, and I don't feel threatened by you.
Correct.
when when we see an insect, the biggest misconception the humans have is that the earth is their privilege. No, we are just a part of habitat. We have been allowed to live on this earth like others are allowed to by nature. So we have to be like co-passengers on a train. And no matter if you are 6 feet and I am five, I'm allowed a seat and I'm going to have my share of seat. Same way, nature has provided all of us a place on this beautiful earth. And we should understand that this earth is not only for humans, this earth is for everyone, living, so called living, and so called non living. And as the Indian philosophy says, we do not consider anything non living. And that is why we are able to respect everything. And the day we respect stones, the way we respect water, the way we respect trees, believe me, that is the real way. When we start respecting our own inner self also, and we find a balance inside the coexistence of our anger, our fear, our greed, our righteousness, the same way we're going to find a coexistence in the outer world.
Maybe I
Both
cannot thank you enough. I'm sorry interrupting you again. Time is almost there. Where I would also take this opportunity of sharing this short poem with you on World विश्व पर्यावरण दिवस. वृक्ष अब यक्ष बन गया है, पूछे है सवाल मेरे बिना कब तक तुम्हारी चाल, बिना छाया क्या होगा हाल, वृक्ष हरा भरा बोले मैं तुझे संभालूं तू मुझे संभाल. So that
yeah,
mutual relationship, and I also remember we have the tradition of worshipping rivers,
yeah.
but how that worship is being uh, manifested is another question for another day. Now, as we conclude, last 10 seconds, your tip for us to have proper mind and nature relationship.
The word nature, if you listen to the word nature, see it in two ways: your inner self and the outer self of this world. And believe me, both need to be in sync with everything that is around. So, the moment you can learn to coexist, there will be no conflict. And
Namaste,
when
no
you have
conflict
no conflict,
with namaskar, holding, folding hands and holding hands. Thank you. Bye.